Sometimes, history is remembered not by grand speeches, towering monuments, or battle victories, but by a single photograph, a frozen moment that whispers louder than 1,000 war cries. One such image was taken on August 28, 1937, at Shanghai South Railway Station. It showed not generals, not soldiers, not politicians, but a baby, alone, crying, surrounded by chaos. That haunting photograph has outlived every commander of that war, becoming one of the most powerful reminders of human suffering in the 20th century. The year was 1937. The world was inching closer to the fires of global war. In China, the Second Sino-Japanese War had erupted in July, and by August, the Battle of Shanghai was raging with full fury. Shanghai was not only China's gateway to the world, but also one of its most modern, bustling cities. Its train stations were arteries of life, connecting people, commerce, and hope. But on August 28th, that heartbeat was silenced. Japanese warplanes bombed Shanghai South Railway Station, targeting not soldiers or weapons, but civilians. Thousands of people had crowded there, trying to escape the fighting, boarding trains that could take them to safety. Instead, the station became a graveyard. Among the carnage, a baby sat on the platform, dust and blood around him, no parent in sight. His tiny body was dwarfed by the ruins of concrete and steel. His mouth opened in a cry that no one could hear above the ringing silence of destruction. A photographer, H.S. Wang, also known as Wang Hai-sheng, raised his camera. He clicked. That single act captured one of the most iconic war images ever taken. A child's despair became the face of Shanghai's tragedy. The photograph was not staged. It was raw, brutal, real. The baby, later said to be around 1 year old, was surrounded by corpses. The railway station had been struck by Japanese bombs without warning. Mothers, fathers, workers, travelers, nearly 1,800 civilians lay dead or dying. Survivors staggered about in disbelief. And in the middle of this wasteland was innocence itself, a baby too young to understand war, yet caught in its merciless grip. Wang's photograph, published internationally, shook the conscience of the world. Newspapers in Europe, America, and Asia carried it under headlines that spoke of Shanghai horror and massacre by bombing. Suddenly, the world could no longer look away. The war in China was no longer a distant story. It had a face. But beyond the photograph, one must ask, who was this baby? What became of him? History is frustratingly silent. Some accounts say the child was rescued, taken in by Red Cross workers or passing civilians. Others suggest he was left nameless, a symbol rather than a survivor. The truth has been lost to time, hidden beneath the rubble of war and the fog of memory. Yet whether he lived or perished, the baby became a representation of millions of children caught in conflict. His cry stood for the countless young lives destroyed, not just in China, but later in Poland, London, Hiroshima, and Nanjing, and beyond. The bombing of Shanghai South Railway Station was not an isolated event. It marked a new era of warfare, one where civilian spaces were no longer off limits, where train stations, markets, and schools became battlefields. The strategy of terror from the skies would repeat itself across continents, from Coventry to Dresden, from Tokyo to Vietnam. And at the heart of it all were always the same victims, ordinary people, the powerless, the young. For Shanghai, August 28th became a day etched in memory. The city would endure months of brutal battle, street by street, building by building. The war would stretch for 8 long years, merging into the wider devastation of World War II. By its end, tens of millions of Chinese had lost their lives. Yet that single baby's image, captured in 1937, continues to echo louder than statistics ever could. The baby at Shanghai South Railway Station is more than just a photograph. He is a question posed to every generation. What price does humanity pay when war becomes the answer? We may never know his name, we may never know his fate, but we know what he represents: the innocence of a child against the cruelty of bombs, the fragility of life against the machinery of destruction. Today, that image still stirs something deep within us, a reminder that behind every headline, behind every battlefield, behind every nation's history are individuals, human beings, families, children who deserve laughter instead of tears. So, as we remember August 28, 1937, let us carry the lesson of that baby's cry into our own lives, that war is not glory, not honor, not victory. It is a loss. And sometimes it is the cry of a single child that teaches the world what it means to be human. A photograph can capture a moment, but sometimes that moment captures us.